Welcome back, my awesome people. In today's episode, I will be going over reasons why you may be financially poor. Now, before you guys cancel me and get all excited, there are of course multitude of factors that can contribute to an individual's poor financials. But for this specific video, I will be focusing on surface level everyday factors that could contribute to a person's financial downfall. Many people are currently facing many financial burdens, from high cost of living to healthcare expenses to taxes and school tuition. And for some people, these countless burdens can make it seem like they'll always be poor. Whatever your definition of poor is, there are strategies you can use to build your financial and mental wealth over time. But before you start building your wealth, it's important to understand which habits are putting a strain on your financials so you can either avoid them or change them if you are currently doing them. The first bad habit that is putting a strain on your financials is debt. You are stuck in a debt trap. When you're poor, it's easy to get stuck in a debt trap because you're desperate, whether it's a payday loan or even just using a credit card for an emergency. It's easy to make rash decisions when you're stressed, and these decisions usually keep people broke. When you're broke, stacks of bills, overdue notices are a huge sources of anxiety and dread. But avoiding these problems and failing to manage your debts only makes them worse. So make sure you do not ignore your big debts and always find ways that you can reduce them. For example, a major problem currently facing our society is the gap between college graduates and sufficient employment. Majority of graduates end up poor because they want too many things too soon, as they tend to put today's financial needs before future financial needs. This is especially challenging as these college graduates go from living on peanuts to having a livable chat. But they still can't realistically afford the new house and the new car and the nights out and the holidays abroad that they were probably used to when they were receiving student loans. And now that they are not, many of them are taking the dangerous option and using credit to fund these purchases, which unfortunately can cripple their future financial life. So don't be that type of graduate. Instead, living one more year like a student while saving your first paychecks can help tremendously. Also, don't be a lazy ass. Start looking into programs and opportunities that you can take advantage of as a graduate. For example, student loans are one of the biggest loans an individual may take out, and a lot of those students are burdened by student loans. Yet they don't realize that there are a lot of options out there for them, as there are tons of programs that can help with lowering student loan payments and even forgiveness. So contact your loan provider to find out what options you have. But you have to get your lazy ass up and seek out these programs. The second bad habit is using your credit card for everything. I know, you are all thinking, but Jacob Rant, aren't we supposed to only use credit cards so we can get the rewards and the cash back on our purchases? Well, yes, that is definitely a golden rule. But when you're already in high debt with your credit cards, it might be time to start paying your purchases with cash while you get your debt in order, as a way to avoid increasing your debt and paying more interest on it. And also as a way to discipline yourself with the mentality that if you cannot afford it in cash, don't buy it. Because as your credit card debt increases, so do your interest payments. And this will continue to compound until you either declare bankruptcy, which I highly suggest you avoid at all costs, or you actually pay it off. You will be screwed over by thinking this consumer debt will somehow magically go away with no consequences. The third bad habit is the lack of knowledge and learning in the space of personal finance. Most people are poor because they have no knowledge about personal finance. Many people don't know that the dangers of debt comes from compound interest working against them instead of for them, as it does with investments. Instead of thinking, how can I spend money to make me happy now? You should be thinking, how can I use this money to buy me financial freedom in the future? This is the mind shift that is necessary to not being poor. And knowledge about personal finance is what separates those who are great with their money and those that are reckless with their money. Even if you don't have the best knowledge about personal finance, at least have a plan for your money. The biggest reason people stay poor is because they don't have a plan for their money. It is easy to hope that there is money left over at the end of the month, but many times our behavior and habits get in the way. To stop your bad spending habits, automate your bills, your savings and investings as soon as your paychecks come in. This will put your money where it needs to go first before you blow your money on stupid purchases. If you have goals that are set too high or maybe set too low, you will be either discouraged or bored. So set realistic goals on your finance and investment ideas. If a goal feels too big, start by breaking things down. For example, maybe you need to save up at least $6,000 within 6 months. Focus on the $1,000 you need to put away every month instead of the $6,000 end goal. Setting goals and investing wisely is easy. If you're not doing this today, you may be closer to the poverty line than you should be. According to many reports, as many as 70% of individuals do not have a budget. And if you, yes, you, watching this right now, also do not have a budget or don't know how to start one, then start with a basic budget using the 50-20-30 rule. 50% of your net income goes to housing, food, transportation costs, and bills, also known as your needs and essentials to live. 20% goes into savings, investments, or paying off debt, and 30% is to spend on your wants and non-essentials. So those pair of Jordans you were watching, maybe you can buy them, but don't go overboard. I personally minimize the amount I spend on my non-essentials, so I increase my savings to about 40% and spend about 10% on myself. This way I am prioritizing my future rather than my now. Also, it's important to remember that your income used to calculate this budgeting rule is based on your net income, which is your income after taxes have been taken out. Don't make budgeting decisions on your total pay, or you'll be very disappointed when taxes start being deducted and you wonder why you're still struggling to make ends meet. It takes discipline and lifestyle changes to correct overspending habits. The fourth bad habit keeping you poor is the lack of savings and investments. When you get paid, make sure you are saving for your future. Do it automatically each pay period, and you're more likely to stick with it. Most people have their savings separated into two categories. Short-term savings, which can be for a home renovation or a family vacation, and an emergency fund, which is a savings meant strictly for unexpected emergencies, such as car problems or a broken oven. A good rule for an emergency fund is to have 3 to 6 months worth of cash saved that can take care of your needs and essentials if anything ever did go wrong. Like, what if you lost your job? At least you will have your emergency fund to take care of you for a few months while you either find another job or figure out your situation. Not having nearly enough cash savings in emergency funds is one of the biggest ways people hurt themselves financially. Always have an emergency fund. You can start small with $1,000, maybe a few $100s, but work to increase the amount as often as you can. And once you have your savings as cushioned as you need, then you can start investing. Remember, my awesome people, the root cause of being broke is nearly always the same. People spend more than they make. But the good news is, if you spend less to live within your means, you invest and work to earn more, you will surely have more financial breathing room than ever. So, Jacob Rant, what's with today's episode? Kind of insensitive, isn't it? Well, my awesome people, I understand that finances are a touchy subject for many people, but it is also a conversation that needs to be openly discussed. During the pandemic lockdowns, everyone was rushing to learn about personal finance and investing because there was so much uncertainty in the world at that time. And people wanted to know how to better safeguard their money and assets. So this video was meant to remind my awesome people that with everything going on in the world, especially with the failing banking sector, continued interest rate hikes, and global issues hurting international currencies, it is time to start getting back to the basics. Start looking over your finances before the new year begins, because credit card is at an all-time high, and this is a red flag signaling that the debt bubble will soon burst, and you do not want to get caught up in that fiasco. And remember, my awesome people, just like all the information I mentioned in my videos, assess your risk appetite, always diversify, and please, please, please do your own due diligence, because I am just a clown on YouTube. Stay ranting.